Hey everyone, sorry I haven't made a video in forever, I've just been a bit rubbish. So, street harassment. I've learned to deal with street harassment from a pretty young age, and actually I think a lot of us have. For me it started in secondary school when, we were still wearing our school uniform, but we'd still get people beeping out of their cars and shouting from across the street. I remember the leering blokes from the kebab van driving past us and making weird faces or shouting at us or whatever. And being so young and insecure at that point, we'd see it as a good thing. We'd see it as a measure of our worth. And, we'd have this, oh, he was beeping at you, no, he was beeping at you, and we'd see it as like a compliment, and we knew that it made us feel unsafe. We'd laugh at the kebab van as it drove past us, but when it was parked on the street, we'd go across the field to avoid walking directly past it, and they'd still yell at us from like a distance. But we knew it made us feel unsafe, but we still tried to sort of pretend to ourselves like, it was a good thing. And we teach ourselves that it's a good thing that strangers feel entitled to make aesthetic judgments of us in public spaces. I remember having a debate in class in secondary school, where it's a whole room 101 thing, and I put forward street harassment as something to go in room 101. And there were girls arguing against me, saying, oh, but doesn't it make you feel like you look good and it boosts your confidence and stuff like that? And I think the problem is, I think we convince ourselves that we have the power in that situation. I think we see this bullshit media portrayal in art and cinema and adverts of street harassment and male gaze as sort of harmless, and these narratives portray men as gormless, open-mouthed, tripping over, spilling tea on themselves, as they watch the beautiful woman strolling past, and she's completely aware of the effect she's having. She's smirking to herself, and she's pleased and she's powerful, and I think that's why we try to claim that it makes us feel good, because we want power from the situation. This is not the case. The power doesn't lie with us. These men are assuming this right to view us as objects, and to make lewd comments about us, that are designed to make us feel uncomfortable. These comments that men make about us on the streets, they're not compliments. They're dehumanizing most of the time. They're references to animals and objects. You would get whistled at, whistling for a dog. There's a reason that cat calls are called cat calls. And people saying things like, oh, I would tap that. It's really dehumanizing. And I was talking to my sister, and she had a lot of things to say about the male gaze and street harassment, and she's saying that the male gaze is incredibly powerful, and it goes back to the idea of the panopticon, if I'm saying that right, which is mentioned in Foucault. I hope I'm saying that right as well. And she's saying how vision and gaze are means of discipline and control. The panopticon was going to be a circular prison. It was designed for the circular prison, in which all of the cells are in the outer circle, and there's a watchtower in the middle. There's no way of the prisoner being able to tell if they're being watched, but the idea that they could be being watched at all times would make them regulate their own behaviour. If we translate that into this situation, so women know from adverts and films and all sorts that it's acceptable for anyone, especially men, to be watching them at any time when they're in a public space. And so there is a great possibility that people are watching her. So we regulate our own looks, our own behaviour, as if people are watching us all the time. In this sense, the woman has turned herself into her own voyeur. And I think that's incredibly dangerous. And I think we do need to challenge the way that we've been sort of forced to view ourselves like this, and we need to challenge this by directly challenging street harassment. And I know that in the other videos, I think Emily was saying that it is very hard to challenge strangers when they're harassing, and it can be very dangerous. I think maybe a more effective or safer way of challenging street harassment is to challenge your male friends and colleagues and family, and to make sure that they're not doing it. I remember my old flatmate looking out of our kitchen window one day, making comments on some girl walking past, and I challenged him on it because he was being a douchebag, and he apologised, and he apologised profusely. He seemed to be really apologetic for it, and another time we were in the kitchen and another girl walked past, and he started doing it and caught himself and sort of started apologising to me before like he even really said anything. And it might have just been the fact that I was around, but at least the thinking was there. At least he realised that he was doing it, and that a lot of people don't find that acceptable. I think these small differences add up, and I think that a lot of blokes actually don't really recognise when they're being dickheads and when they're perving on girls. So it is good if you're with male friends who, you're suddenly shocked at what a douchebag they're being. Sometimes I think they probably won't even notice it in themselves, and it's good to call them up on it because it means that they're more likely to think about it before they do it next time. I think male allies as well really need to help educate other men, their peers, and call out the wankers on the street that are harassing women, because a lot of the time it's not safe for us to do so. We need to tell our young girls that it's not a good thing when someone is creeping on her, and that her worth is far more than some random bloke's opinion of her and the way she looks. We need to take back our right to feel safe in public spaces, whichever way we can. Whether that's things like going on Reclaim the Night marches, or carrying defensive weapon type things, it's completely illegal. Or even if that's like things like travelling in slightly inebriated, rowdy packs of girls intimidating passing men, which is my personal favourite. I think we should do whatever we can to take back our streets. Streets.